Hey everybody, I'm Jason Yoder, and today I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips for landscape photographers. Stay tuned to the end, I'll give you a bonus pro tip as well. Tip number 1, planning when and where you want to photograph. So this can be this could be the funnest part of planning out a landscape photography shoot. Where do you want to go to capture images, but also what time of the year and what time of the day? You want to make sure that you arrive at the location to capture the type of images that you're interested in. For example, when I wanted to capture images of pine trees just draped in snow, I had to keep my eye on the weather. Now, fortunately, I was in the Pacific Northwest, so when we had a big snowfall right before the weekend, I made the 2.5-hour drive up Mount Baker and was rewarded with some spectacular images. Tip number 2, use a tripod. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who do not want to lug all this extra equipment around, but truth be told, in order to get those razor sharp images, you need to use a tripod. Also, by using a tripod, you can get into some angles and positions that just aren't comfortable, or ones where you can't hold the camera steady. So get yourself a good tripod and use it. Tip number 3, use a cable release or some type of an app that allows you to trigger your shutter. Every time you touch your camera, even if it's to hit the shutter button, it introduces shake, which is going to cause blur, even on a tripod. So, for example, on my Canon EOS R, I actually have an app that wirelessly connects up to my phone, and I'm able to control the camera settings and trigger the shutter without introducing any shake into the camera. Tip number 4, shoot raw. So many of you are probably already shooting in JPEG, and what happens is that when you use a JPEG file format, the file sizes are significantly smaller. So what the camera does is it removes all information that's not needed for the final image. When you shoot in RAW, all the available data from your camera sensor is preserved in that image, and that gives you maximum flexibility in post-processing. Tip number 5, use a polarizer. Whenever you're shooting landscapes, there's going to be reflections off water, off leaves, off of rocks. A polarizer, a circular polarizer, will help to remove that glare and bring out the more vibrant colors. There is no filter in existence in post-processing that can do this. You've got to do it in camera with a circular polarizer. Tip number 6, work with the weather. Any weather that drives people indoors is perfect for landscape photography. Whether it be a storm or foggy conditions or high winds, these are the elements that make for fantastic landscape images. Don't be afraid of the weather. Tip number 7, watch your horizon. Particularly when you're shooting over water, everybody knows the horizon is flat. So I know you might want to take the camera and do some special angles, but when it comes to landscape photography, you've got to watch the horizon. Turn on the leveler inside your camera and use it. And then in post-processing, make sure you rotate the image to try and get that horizon as flat as possible. Tip number 8, look for foreground element. Now personally, I love the grand landscape image, but every once in a while you need something for the viewer to really focus on. That is going to be your foreground element. It could be a tree, it could be a rock, it could be a structure of some type, it could be an animal, but that gives the viewer, the eye is drawn towards that particular element. So consider looking for a foreground element in your landscapes. Tip number 9 is minimalism. Simply put, with minimalism, we're trying to remove any elements that are going to be distracting from your image. Like, for example, if you're shooting out on a landscape and there is a red vehicle in the distance, that is going to be a distraction, something that we can easily correct in post-processing. But the more distractions you can eliminate in camera, the less work you're going to have to do in post-processing. Now, here's an example of a very minimalistic image. When I took this image, off to the side of the trees there was actually a fence. You can faintly see through the snow. It was a distraction. So in post-processing, I simply removed it and created a more minimalistic image. Tip number 10, the golden hour. The first hour after sunrise or the last hour before sunset is known as the golden hour. That is when the sunlight is most diffused. Shadows are more softer. Colors are more vibrant. This is that magical time that can make or break a landscape image. So plan your time to be there well before this magical hour happens so you can survey the area and locate the places and the compositions you want, because when the sun is setting, it happens very quickly and you want to make sure you maximize your time during the golden hour. Okay, here's that pro tip I promised you guys. There's a thing called the blue hour. Now, the blue hour happens about 20 to 30 minutes before the golden hour, or 20 to 30 minutes after the golden hour, depending which side of the day you're shooting on. Simply put, that means the sky is blue, and if there's any high altitude clouds, they capture the vibrant colors. Now, when you're shooting, maybe in a city, for example, you don't want a giant black sky. You want something up there, and the blue hour is perfect. I love it when I'm in an urban environment because I get the ambient light so I can still see what's around me. I get the city lights turned on, and I get whatever's in the sky. So also take advantage of the blue hour. Thank you everybody for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Also, if there's other types of photographic techniques that you would like me to share with you, just mention them in the comments. And also, if you could, consider opening your hearts and homes to a shelter animal need. If you can't, please donate to your local animal shelter. Take care, and I'll see you all next week.